vacation time, hours off. That
Yeah, I would-
to do this.
I would prefer not to, but.
I understand that. Well, I just, you know,
But I also, like, before I ran, I had the conversation with Leo at the library that there would be, meetings that are scheduled on holiday. We knew, like, oh, they're going to go to Tuesdays.
So we can reach out to the other two committees and ask them. I know the opposite of your meeting Monday, budget committee is scheduled for that. So maybe between you guys and the budget committee, we can offset some of those Mondays.
yeah, I'm sure we will have meeting eventually with budget committee as well at the end.
Yeah.
Y'all set, Rusty?
Totally.
So I handed out a paper tonight, shows kind of where we are. Salaries and benefits are not ready to go. General admin, we're waiting on answers regarding emails. And elections, you said move it forward. General admin insurance, move it forward. Contingency, move it forward. So animal welfare, if we could go to that. You guys had looked at that last week, but I really want to make a change to that. I'm looking.
Animal control officer 72,
Oh,
10-175.
Page 19.
Yeah, I'm on page 4, that was the salary and stuff.
oh, okay.
Well, there you go. Right, 125, yeah.
This is quite a book we got going now.
Hey, information, I will give you any information that helps us
I like
get
it.
through the hard stuff.
That's not a criticism, that's. it's nice.
Any questions, anything, just
I like detail.
let us know. So animal welfare, the clinic line, which is right below the shelter line. I don't know what's going on this year, but we had an instance where we had to deal with a dog that we couldn't contact any owners. We didn't know if it had rabies or not. It had to be tested. Well, today I also got yet another invoice for a cremation. So right now we're at $667 for the year. And this is probably the most I've seen out of that. So I wanted to talk to you guys about moving that line up to 1,000. It was at 350. But given what's going on this year, I don't know where to go for next year.
Is there any money for these kinds of things that come out? We have, when we register dogs and animal control stuff, don't we get money back?
So, yep,
That-
if the dog is not neutered, we get $1. If the dog is neutered, we get $2. So the amount of, right? Yes? Yeah. So, something to that effect. So that does go into your revenue line. But basically, you spend more on your animal control than you actually bring in. I did an analysis a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's like no kitty out there that's in holding. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
I think that's probably wise.
So is it our animal control officer that brings them to the clinic? And
Yes.
like, so we don't have any warning, like you just got this invoice, he doesn't call and say, hey, I've got an animal that I have to bring, and
Typically not. I mean, we did get a phone call about the one that we didn't know had rabies or not on like first thing in the morning. So it was like 8:00 and we're scrambling around calling the vet. I'm calling all of the other people that we need to get in line to do this. And she actually had that dog since about 11:00 at night. And she reached out, she did Facebook, she did everything to try to locate an owner. I don't know if this is something that we're looking at that might be a trend going on. And it's going to be a trend, given I know I used to pay $10 for a case of dog food. Now I'm paying $21, so I'm just nervous that it's going to become a trend.
So these current year numbers are not all related to that one instance then?
So there's two instances. One is related to that one instance, the first three,
Yeah.
and then the last one is the newest
Okay.
instance. And I know she does a great job trying to locate
So this
owners.
is all like animals that they can't find their owner.
They can't find
Nobody's
it.
come forward, but they need like,
They need to do something with the poor animal.
So if we do come up with the owner later, is there something in place that we get reimbursed from the owner?
There never has been. I mean, that is definitely something we can all talk about.
I think if they find the owner, we need to bill the owner.
Yeah.
But I don't, yeah, I agree. I don't know if we
But I
ever
don't
had a
know.
scenario where we did find the
Right.
owner afterwards though.
Right.
I know with that first instance, we
Yeah.
did not. Nobody
Well, I
came
know that
forward.
well. There wasn't anything to come forward for at that point, so.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I mean, there was still bills to come forward,
Nobody's
but
gonna come forward
who
with
would know,
bills.
right?
Yeah.
So, if you find an animal and they have to take it up to the emergency room that is in critical condition, those kind of things. We always did $350 for the shelter. And since I've been here, we've barely tapped it.
Yeah.
But this year seems to be really hitting us hard. So Lindsay doesn't know this yet because I haven't had a chance to talk to her, but I'm probably going to ask her to take a couple of these bills and ask you guys to use contingency on them. Just because I looked at the mileage line and I don't think we're going to have a lot left over there either. So,
Back to the, if we can build the owner, I'm wondering if these dogs or animals are going to a clinic, like, I don't think there's anything that gets back to the ACO after that point. So I don't know if the clinic, like.
yeah, we can check on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Debbie has a scanner thing.
That's what I was
If the
Yes.
shelter scans for the microchip, I would assume they would tell the ACO.
We can check on that and make sure.
Unless they just drop them and run, and if they're not calling them back, then
Right.
that might be, yeah.
I don't see why we couldn't put something in place. So it's not the shelter that we're talking about. It's because the shelter will scan and they'll try to locate the owner. This is the emergency medical services.
Right.
And even $1,000 could be used up in 5 minutes.
Yeah, with the way we're going this year.
Emergency, especially if it ends up at an emergency clinic.
I know, I
If
just
the-
paid
if the other-
$800.
If the regular vet in town is closed and you use the emergency one, that's always way more money,
Mhm.
Yeah.
as is the animal hospitals or.
Yeah, I just paid $800 myself. So,
Do
For
you
one
think
dog.
1,000, do you think, would we be in the same boat? I know it's hard to tell, you don't know.
I know.
One year you could use all of it, and 1 year you might use none of it.
Yeah, I think we used it once.
I'm comfortable with 1,000, knowing that there's always still contingency if we need to go that route.
And I feel that first one is, I don't want to say fluke, but it's out of the ordinary charge that we're having
Yeah.
to do with. We don't see this very often.
No,
You know, the
no,
second
I
one,
haven't.
Maybe
Never.
we see, but the first one is.
Right, the first
it's
one,
a Crazy circumstance, so.
have not seen that.
So,
Yeah, I've not seen that situation anywhere that I've been. So,
It's, we didn't get
And
into that
so-
last week because we were televised.
Right.
we are now.
We are now. So we're getting these bills like from the emergency vet or from the, like, vet down the street or something? Is that what's happening? They have nobody else to bill? Is that what?
So that first instance, we had a bill from the vet down the street because he did the amputation.
Yeah.
And then we had a bill from the delivery company, and then we had a bill for the testing. This one is just the one bill. This is the 104 is what we may typically see
Okay.
tops.
I guess my only point is I think that they just want to get paid somehow, so I feel like even if the guy doing a real buy, call and say like, hey, this was dumped in our lap too.
They've been really
As
good.
a
I mean,
deal here, like,
Is this Southern Maine? Probably 111, that we're getting. The first one.
the first one, it was the one down the street here, to not put names out there.
Oh.
And then we had a delivery company that came and picked it up and delivered it to Bangor.
Oh, was it Bangor?
That's where the testing site was. Yeah. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you guys. Do you want to leave it at 350? Do you want to change it to 1,000? Do you feel like maybe we're in a trend situation here, or that was just an abnormal thing that we'll probably never see again?
I think we should raise it for this year because of this
Yeah.
last year, and then
See
readdress it
how it
every
goes.
year, see how it goes.
if
It's
it
one of
doesn't
those
happen
things.
at all, then
And out of, $3 million, you're talking about
750.
650 of a raise, so.
Yeah.
Right. And then if we don't use it, it just comes back to,
Right.
that's pennies. It's crazy.
So you guys want to go with what's listed here?
Yeah, I think that's
like
a
it.
good call.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll move that forward to the budget committee. Okay, roads is ready to go. If you want to flip to roads. Page 21.
21, there.
Couple pages. So I sat down with Tom. He gave me, the same scenario that we had last year. We have no idea what TAR is going to be or what costs are going to be when they finally come in. So I said to Tom, give me a list, what you want to do first to what you want to do last. And that's basically how we set this up.
When was the last one?
So under 40-482, do we really have one Fry's Bridge Road without an E and then one with an E in the town?
No.
No,
Okay.
it's the last one.
Okay, so we added Fry's Bridge after the fact. I'll double check with him, but he just replaced that culvert, and that needs to be paved over that culvert. So I'll double check with him. Good catch, Amber.
Yeah, so we would get rid of one of those options.
And see if that's a different section of road that he was planning on paving versus.
I didn't know,
just
because
over
sometimes
that.
I still drive by and I'm like, oh, I didn't know we had a street there
Oh.
in Lyman, like where.
And Brad one time gave me crap. You don't know where that road is? I'm like, there's so many roads.
I
in
don't
this
know where
town."
half the roads in Lyman are.
I felt like testing him, see if I could come up with a funny name to see if he could.
I thought that was gonna be the culvert replacement and graveling over and a layer of pavement
No.
all on Monday. That's what he had told
It
me.
is cold patch.
It's cold patch,
It's cold
okay,
patch.
thank you.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
not paved.
You're right, okay, that's where I was.
Yeah. They did put the gravel stuff over the top, but it's not paved and it needs to get paved.
No, it's cold. It's cold patch. I drive on it. I drive it every day over it. And it's paved, but it's.
So that first one's
It
probably.
needs
It's
to
the
be-
gravel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
It's not fine.
So-
yeah.
I'll go and
So
talk
one
to
of these.
Tom about the two Fry's Bridge.
Okay.
And if he was thinking of a different section of the road that he wanted to pave, and then that culvert issue came up.
Right.
Do you guys have any other questions on that?
Will some of the money be rolled over? Will we be able to roll anything from this year's that was scheduled? Because I know John Street was scheduled, supposed to happen right off first thing in the spring, but was supposed to go down late in the season and it didn't.
Right.
So does that mean that we lose? I mean,
So
We do it at the
What-
beginning of this season, right?
what Brow is doing, what I think Tom is planning on doing, and you hit this in every single town I've been in, is that you have different things that you want to accomplish, but because of the weather, you can't accomplish them right there, or because of their availability to get it done, you can't get it accomplished. So in the spring, he should start, scheduling these. If they can't get to them until the end of June, that still works out because we have the monies encumbered. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? So if they get John Street,
I guess, is the money there, the budget still to do John Street?
there's,
Until
I guess
June
that was-
30.
Well,
I didn't bring
I know
my,
we've come up with all kinds of crazy emergency things, and I know the trees were cut down, and
Yeah.
that came out of it.
yeah, I don't have my current, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's the only outstanding
Yeah, that's what it was.
one.
Because that's why, like, if we're gonna budget for it for next year, but we've already got it ready to go for this year.
Yeah, I think it's still good for this year, so this is good until June, this 24 budget.
Yeah. But there's also, on the 24 budget, we budgeted 45,000 for Deer Hill,
It was just a section.
just a section. Okay,
Yeah.
so then the 40,000 for this upcoming would be another section?
Correct.
Is that, okay.
So basically, they've been doing, that's what the 1,700 feet, the 6,200 feet.
Yeah.
That's what that's for. Is to say, okay, we're gonna get this section done now.
The sign budget, always the sign budget. Right? How many signs, is there still an issue in this town with signs disappearing
Yeah.
constantly, having to have signs?
I
I
have-
Shoot anywhere.
Not like it was. I mean, Brad replaced one sign like 4 times.
Yeah.
They just tacking the porta potties now, so.
We greased them, we used to grease them or,
That's what I did.
and strip after, when you attached it, strip the bolt so they couldn't, you cross thread them when you put them on and something, almost break it when you're.
I greased it. When I moved into my house, the wood brush line was missing, and somehow the neighbor brought it to me. She's like, they got me a new sign, and I want to put it up. She was like, you should grease those, so no one will touch them. I was like,
At least, yeah.
and no one's taking it. So I was like,
That's really a good idea.
Cause them a little aggravation and
well,
stuff.
let them get dirty.
Yep.
I know there's always an issue with signs, like, just the whole road by Bunganuck, both sides should be covered with signs. Because it's no parking, but it's like this sign, and there's another one 250 feet down, but it's still no parking. And they
Yeah.
all park.
We increase that. As we get to it, you'll see that.
So can we, before we get there, I'm sorry, you're gonna confirm with Tom about Fry's Bridge?
Yep.
Okay,
And I'm gonna ask him about John Street too.
perfect, okay.
Was there any other questions on?
I don't see roadside mowing.
Because it's in mowing
Oh, okay,
for buildings and grounds
all right.
under that.
Is there a way to tell what was spent on tree removal last year for 20,000 and then going up to 40,000 for,
We don't have a specific tree removal line.
so it's all included?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I think Gerard did most of those, Amber, if you're looking for the vendor.
Okay.
And they did do a lot of removal in some sections. I know Walker Road, they did a ton.
So, Clarksville.
Yep.
I'm like wondering, according to this, is 40 even going to be enough?
Tree removal.
Yeah.
We've had 20 this year, right? I guess I'm like, why the jump? Are there like areas that he wants to target or?
You drive around and you see all the
Oh, for sure.
potential deaths
I know.
on the side of the road. It's crazy. Except for Cold Bend.
Yep.
Good old
Oh, I
Cold
think
Bend.
striping was lower, right? Striping was lower.
Just a little.
We do have new sweeping too.
Striping and striping. both of
Yeah,
Really?
those.
well, the contract for striping is over, so he contacted somebody and that was the number that they gave him.
So yeah, so just going by what we finished for the last fiscal year, just $56,750 for jar tree.
For trees.
So like is 40,
Do you want me to ask Tom?
I mean, I think it's,
Double check the trees.
yeah, because we only allotted for 20. We spent 36,000 more, you know, obviously he had to pull that out of his budget somewhere.
Yeah, I'd be curious on that too.
22, 23.
I mean, and maybe some of this, because I see he has bush cutting / tree trimming for 15. Maybe some of these that are in here that were Gerard tree was for trimming.
It could be.
I didn't look to see what the other side said, so,
That's-
oh, it just
I know
says,
that's what they did, of course.
it just says the name of the road, so it
Trim
doesn't.
the trees.
I know when you're going down the road and you're like, ching,
Yeah, mine-
Yeah.
grabs a hold of your,
Wax the mirror.
yeah.
I think one year's ago.
Oh, yeah, one says tree pruning, but most of them say just like the name of the road. So, yeah, I think it's worth asking him,
I'll ask him.
because.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it looks realistic. I'm gonna have heartburn over all the numbers from here on out anyway, so.
Do you have any other questions you want him to talk about? Okay. Moving on. So buildings and grounds, care and maintenance, which is the next section. That very first line, it's the security system, which we're gonna take a look at. So other than that, everything is ready to go in that section. Do you want to review that section with the exception of that one area? Or do you want to wait until we get some more finalized numbers on that?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to have the final
Okay.
number, but that's just me. That's,
Yeah, I would agree with that. too.
Why the push for a new security system?
Well, you weren't here. So the security system we have now, a couple of years ago, we looked at it to see what we could do differently. If we want a report of who's entered the building, who's left the building, and when they did that, so forth and so on, the company we're with right now can do it, but it comes at a cost of like, I think it was like, don't quote me, $90 a month just to get that report. And then when it comes to adding codes, we have to call them. When it comes to taking codes away, we have to call them. We can't do any of that from here. So what they've done this year is every time we call them, now they're charging us $20
You're just to call them?
just to call them and have them delete
Like if they have to take an action.
a number and call them and have them add a number. those kind of things. And with the amount of committees that we have, it can be quite daunting. So we're gonna take another look at it, because if we could control that here, where we can just add the codes or delete the codes, that would be a big savings to us.
And another sentiment I got from committees too is like people don't want to key in the building for whatever reason, so I think, they may be more comfortable with like a fob that, grants them very specific access, so there's no like accusation of any nefarious something, I'm not sure, but a lot of times, like, it's hard for me to get a committee member to like take a key, they're like, I don't want it.
But it's also easier to activate or deactivate remotely.
Yes, and that too as well,
If somebody is off a committee or resigns or disappears, click off.
Yeah, we're not getting charged $20. So far, I think we're at 250. Sorry,
I'm sorry, dude.
that's okay. When we looked at it a year or two ago, you couldn't beat the cost. But now, because they're adding costs to us, and I'm sure everything's going up, so I get why they're doing it, but it's worth taking another look at.
I didn't know if you were, look, if you already had something in mind, like you're talking about fobs, and is this new technology, is it related to, like, would the tech guy be doing that for us, or would it be something that we put out to bid again for,
Yeah, you might.
Well, if it's
in the monitoring?
10,000.
Yeah, if it's,
In the
well, if it's
monitoring.
over 5, we'll get through quotes. If it's over 10, I probably I wouldn't even want to engage at that point. But it's worth just taking a look at,
Well, for sure.
and we haven't, like I said, it was a couple of years ago when we looked at it, and it's worth taking a look at again, I feel, because of the new charges being handed into there. So I'm going to call companies, get them to come in, say, this is the system we have now. This is what we'd really love. Give us something that, maybe we start off here and we can build on it.
And I don't
That kind of
think-
thing.
And I don't think we need to like add it to IT's contract for like monitoring, because
I don't
this
think
is a private
it should be.
company.
Yeah,
should
they
be
would
able to do
monitor
this.
their own
That's-
equipment.
To be able to
I didn't know if you had something in mind already, because
No,
it's, we're at kind of that crunch time for this, so how long do you think it would take to get accurate numbers, or would we just plug something in and see if we can stay within those parameters?
we can start calling people this week.
Do we have a contract with them? Like does the contract say that they can just add services, like add fees
It,
to?
it's kind of, our contract is so old with them.
Oh, it's,
We're
okay.
kind of like a
That's
tenant
it.
at will
Okay.
now.
Do you know what year that we started with this particular thing? Because I thought, when I was on the board before we upgraded it, and I don't know if it's been upgraded again since then.
Not in 4 years. I mean, we've had to replace pieces on and we also had to add a fax line because the fire wire was interfering with the fax line and causing things not to be able to be sent out. So we did have to do that, but we haven't upgraded anything really. Yeah, I know not 4 years. We had to replace the pad, but that was it.
No, are we talking, I know originally when we started looking at Sweden all doors, we're talking just a front door, get the system and add later, or?
I think they can price it your way.
Yeah, so I would start off with asking them. I know when we looked at it a few years ago, we were talking about a system we can build upon. So let's, kind of, I think if you want to do it all at one time, I've done that with schools and it's very pricey.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's a cha-ching.
We could easily get the front door done.
Yeah, if we could get the front
And then add.
and then add to it, exactly,
4 rooms at a time or something.
exactly.
I mean, because the rest of the budget, the rest of it, aside from that,
I was gonna
looks,
say, sorry, go
looks acceptable to me.
Right.
Or-
Yeah.
Another question I would want to make sure that we ask companies too, which is the bandwidth for the system, if we, when we end up with a town hall expansion. It's a little ways out, but some
Okay.
systems are very specific to the range. square footage and things like that, so.
The window service 2 times a year, I've called, you know, the company we use, and I've never been able to get them to come out. So
I know, they've
so
just
we've
gotten
actually
so
never used
busy.
that. Yeah.
But they're wonderful. I mean, if we can get them here, that would be,
I don't doubt they do a wonderful job.
they do.
They've not done it at least since I've been here, and
Yeah.
I've called them a couple of times, like, hey, can I schedule this? And they say, yeah, we're really busy, we're gonna get back to you.
Could we, what about, is this the people that do the cleaning in the building?
No.
That-
No.
'cause they come and do extra vacuuming in the winter when we need it for the salt stuff. So I didn't know if maybe they would, if they wash the windows twice a year, you know.
We can try
I think the
that.
budget- and the
I like
budget
that
number-
Because
idea.
they're already here and they're already vested in this
Yeah.
building.
Well, the budget number is just the budget number, right, regardless of who does it. So
Yeah.
we need
Right.
to Lock in who. We just need a number.
Great.
Does that work?
Yeah, we
She
can reach
was
out.
like,
Yeah, I'll ask her. I just wrote down. So I gotta get with her on the cleaning anyway, so. That was an awesome idea, Vicky. I like it. So did you guys want to move on to the next section instead of hanging around in this section? So we
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
okay. So the next section is going to be mowing. And that's on page 26. So we used to break it out by area, but now we have one contractor that does it all. And so that's a contract, which shows up on page 27. And right above it is your roadside mowing. So the contract that we have for regular mowing, not roadside, is calendar year. So and they get a COLA increase on January 1st. So that's why you see two different numbers there.
So is that the amount of COLA? That's the percentage?
So the first 5 months, the one on the top,
Mm-hmm.
I know what that COLA is. That's
Okay.
3.25.
Okay. So
And
that's
then-
for the remaining.
Yeah,
Right,
for the
okay.
last 4 months, it's a wild card, so that's kind of what I use.
Okay.
And this is all already contracted, so
Yes, it
there's
is.
no adjustments to be made there.
This is year 2 of 5, unless you feel like roadside mowing needs more attention.
Is
Well,
roadside
that's
mowing
under
same?
contract also, I think, for three years, was it? Was
No, it's
only
not.
awarded Just for last,
Brad's
last
done
fall.
it.
He was supposed to, right, and I think, another company did it after Brad left this year.
Mhm.
Um,
We didn't have a
The only thing I would
contract
say
on that.
about that,
No.
in the future, when we put it out to bid, I'd like to be able to dictate or ask for a certain type of mower to be used
For the
for
roadside?
the roadside mowing, because an articulating mower, they can do the sides, they can get some of that brush that hangs over that whaps your mirror and do all those things, whereas a sickle bar on the back of a tractor will only get X on the side of the road and nothing else. And it
So,
does a much cleaner, neater, better job, the articulated one, and they work well and rather quickly as well. But I think because Brad had that, when he did it before, had that articulating kind of type of mower on there, that maybe I got a little spoiled and I liked it.
Yeah.
so with the roads stuff in your charter, it gives the road commissioner carte blanche to do what he needs to do without actually going out to formal bid. Kind of.
The purchasing policy is still the purchasing policy regardless of who's doing the purchasing.
No, it does say with the exception of certain roads.
Roads, I believe.
It does say that.
I'll have to go back.
So it's not a formal bid that we do on that. But I mean,
It
it's,
can be.
it's a,
That's what
it's, yeah, it's a
it's-
conversation we can have with Tom. I just want to let you guys know that that's in there.
I think it, in a way, it should be a formal year, like bid, like the sweeping is usually 3 to 5 or 3
Yeah, but
years at
usually
least.
that's just a phone, it's not,
The
we never
mowing used to
formal
be
bid.
3, because if somebody knows that they're gonna have longevity, then maybe they'll go out and make that investment for that kind of equipment.
Well, that's what we had done last year, year before, when we put out the mowing and we put out the snow removal, like we did those in like chunks of time to encourage somebody to get on it, so that it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm gonna invest the time, I'll get the equipment for 1 year and then have it pulled out from memory, so.
Mhm.
I don't see Tom having a problem with putting it out to bid.
Yeah, no,
I'll
I'm
certainly have
surprised
that
that I-
conversation with
I'm
him.
surprised that we did that, that's all.
I don't recall saying that, I did,
It was.
I thought I had that in my
I
bag
think it's
too.
transferred from your old charter.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever really changed.
Yeah,
I don't have mine with me tonight. It's
Sure.
okay, I'm
because
not
the
gonna,
prior road
I'm not
commissioner
gonna dwell on that. I
would
just-
have conversations.
Doesn't matter tonight, right?
Yeah, I just,
So I'll have a chat with Tom about that. Lindsay and I will. I'm sure he'd be amenable to that.
There you go.
it's okay, we can keep
Curiosity,
moving, we can keep moving. I'm so gonna walk over.
You can what?
We can keep going.
Okay. So are there any other issues on mowing? You want to move that forward?
I'm good with moving that forward.
Yeah.
Because again, the number doesn't dictate the who.
Okay. So the next one we have is plowing, which is right below it. So the town hall, we merged that all together and one person is doing it. And that's a 3-year contract. Okay. So recreation,
You said it's merged, but what is it? It all merged together.
so one person used to do the sidewalks and salt the sidewalks and do the shoveling on the sidewalks, and another person used to plow. So now the same person is doing all of it.
And what about is the transfer station included in this?
We're gonna go. That's
Okay.
just for the town
All
hall.
right, thank you.
Yep. So Bunganut, she wanted to increase that for more, sledding and snowshoeing, more things going on out there. And if we have a ton of snow, it makes no sense to let it add up to 2 feet and then have to plow it. So she's added some additional plowing in there so that we can keep that area cleared for those programs.
My only concern with that is the 1,500. So when I talked with the plower for the 700, the reason why it wasn't just like plow every storm was because 700 wasn't going to get us very far.
Mhm.
And 700 wasn't going to cover the whole parking lot either. So I think we need to talk to the plow guy about what's 1,500 going to cover.
Well, and which side are they, is it the lakeside?
Yeah.
Yep, that's
Is
where
the
they
gate
do
being
that.
open for that?
Well, and that's been, we
Because
talked
plow
about.
is
We've
no
gone back
gates
and forth with
closed.
that one too.
Well, we talked about this last year of gate open, gate closed, and we opened it, but then people would close it. It's just been open, close, open, close, open, close. I,
Yeah, I guess that's my
for some
only,
reason, can't really come to like an agreement on what is it gonna
but I guess my point is there's no point in plowing it if the gate's not gonna be open.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, it'll be plowed for when we make it function there.
be. Right,
That's what they're,
but then
That's what she,
you originally, but then it's a matter of when are they gonna do a function and how much snow do we get? If we get 5 feet of snow,
You
he's
can't
not
wait
going to go in and plow it. So he kind of has to keep
Right.
on it
Mhm.
routinely, not knowing what the weather's gonna be like. I mean, I'm open to leaving the gate open, we have a lot of vandalism there.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of
But
that.
I've run into last year, we talked about this, we left the gate open, and then somebody would be like, I closed the gate because it was open. No, we wanted to leave it open.
I battled with them on the field side. I'm like, you can leave the gate open. They're like, oh no, I'm told to lock the gate. I'm like, look,
Yeah,
I'm
literally-
telling you, it's open.
literally,
Leave
I've
that gate open.
run into that thing a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
Wonder
they're
if-
afraid to leave it open.
I'm sure there's a way to, you could attach a sign to it. Please leave gate open, please close
Maybe there's
gate.
a way to like chain
Yes.
it open until it's time to
Yeah,
close it,
that would be, that's another option.
right?
Budgeted for cameras and stuff too, so
Not at Bunganut.
No, because no internet over there. Love to, though.
that's in I'm sure that's part of the future that I think that we all see, that the budget, the budget committee is working on it too, but the Bunganut committee is working on as well, and that would be a 4-season thing, and so it'll be open, close, open, close.
So on the
You need a
1,500,
Please.
do you want to leave it at 1,500?
Sorry.
Do you want me to go back and have a conversation with Holly? What,
I'm okay leaving it at 1,500, I just wanna have a clear process of what that means and what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
how
all.
often is the snow showing and sledding happening, or it's not gonna happen every week?
Or I mean, like, if I know the gate's
Yeah.
open, then maybe I would go over and park my car and take the girls snowshoeing over there, but I'm not gonna go over and have the gate be closed anytime.
Well, we can fix the gate issue, like you said, and just change it over.
That's all I'm saying,
Yeah.
is like,
Yeah.
I think that's part of what we do.
But what's the vandalism that we're gonna deal with,
They're
especially
getting
on
it
the
anyway,
lakeside?
right?
I was, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they're just gonna
drive.
go around the gate. If they wanna do it, they're gonna just get out of their car and walk
Snowmobiling
across
off
the, you know,
lake or
yeah.
whatever.
well, or they run it over like they did before.
Yeah, I mean, the booth got damaged, the gate got damaged.
Well, the gate was damaged, but it was still lockable when the booth got damaged. So the gate was locked when the booth got damaged.
Did he, when the 700 was talked about for this year, did he give a number of how many storms that covered? Like, did he
We
say
just- what we-
4?
Brad
So
was doing it.
1,500 would be about 8? Is that like,
No, what we talked about when I talked to Tibbetts Farm was, we had, if we just not knowing what the weather was gonna be, not knowing how many storms we get, we kind of thought, you know, if we had an excessive amount of snow, then he'd come back to me and say, okay, we might need to look at something, because I'm plowing like every so often. So that's where we left it, was, sort of play it by ear and keep in touch with each other. This year, we've had a really mild winter, I think he might have been over like 2 times the plow. You know, so we're not like hitting that 700 pretty
Yeah.
hard.
Do you know how much per plow?
I can ask him what, yeah. We were just,
Curiosity.
it was weird because we threw out 700 as a random number for the last year for this one. So, you know, when I said, look, all I got is $700, you know, what is that gonna get us? And he was like, not a lot.
Yeah.
That's why we started going, okay, how about we plow this section of the parking area? We're not gonna do the whole thing. And we'll, you know, do per storm or so often, not every storm, but whatever. And that's where we got down that road, so.
Because for Kennybunk Pond, it's, it's spelled out actually
Yeah,
for
that's-
each
yeah.
time, and that would
Yeah, it
be,
was just hard to spell it out because 700. And
Yeah.
if I said $700, he'd say, okay, you know, it's 175 per
But I
storm.
feel like
then,
if we
then
just
you
said-
get to that threshold, you're done.
Also, like, if he could say it's this much per storm, we could say, okay, we'll see how far that gets us into the season, and if it, like, if we have to close the gate probably too, then we've exhausted the budget.
Mhm.
then that's the way to go.
So do you want us to go back?
I'm okay
And get
with
that
amount,
information?
And we just do what we can with that amount. I just-
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that one a contract? Can we
No.
Do that?
Is it? No, I don't think
'Cause
that's
it's
a
such a
3-year.
small dollar amount.
Is it a 3-year? It's not a 3-year. Yeah, no, I think that one.
But I think there
That one was not.
But I think there is a contract.
There's gotta be something in place as far as
Yeah.
the insurance and all the stuff that we have people do.
I think there is a contract for it. I just don't know if it's 3 years.
Because it would be good to be able to say, well, it's this, because like, based on Kennybunk Pond, $75 is based on 16 storms. That's,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go back and revisit that.
Yeah, and I would ask Holly too, my one, like, a concern would be like, if he is plowing, all the storms, and then they're like, oh, let's advertise a sledding and snowshoeing day, and then we get a big storm, and we're like, oh, wait, well, we've already run out of money, so now we can't plow it. So your event is it gonna be just a random, like, go sledding and go snowshoeing when people want, or is it Parks and Rec? Like, they're gonna advertise this
They-
as a,
That's what they did last year. I think they did 2 of them, if I remember right. And one day was like super cold. And then the second one, they had more people there because it was
Yeah.
a little warmer
Okay.
that day.
yeah.
But I know they had planned for 2. But yeah, we can go back and ask Holly and
Yeah,
take
because
a
I would
look
just
at
want to make
things.
sure, like you say, like, okay, we're having
Mhm.
a number of advertised events, so we need to save that money to make sure we can
Right, right.
plow it for those times at least.
Right? Okay, we'll go back and revisit that.
The only other thought that I just randomly had, and it's totally not necessarily related to budget, but from an insurance perspective, I know in the summer, the Y sort of runs that place. If
Yep.
we're leaving the gate open, like, should we have any type of signage that says like, at your own risk kind of thing?
Oh, snowshoe and sledding.
Oh.
Or like go near the water at your own, like, I would hate for somebody to be there and like,
Yeah, I increased the signs from 500 to 1,000 over there when we get to that
I'm just talking
point.
in general terms, like, so like, for example, I don't know what type of, I know there's signage over at the ice rink, but I'm sure there's, must be something that says like, you're responsible for yourself, like.
Yeah, I think it does say.
should be.
Just some type of sign, cause just in today's world, it kind of freaks me out a little, but
Mhm.
that's a completely different.
I get ya.
This is doing Bungalow. Who does Kennebunk Pond?
Dave Riley,
Mr. Riley.
Yeah, I thought it was-
Who does the transfer station?
Tibbetts.
I wonder if those should be one solid contract.
So we talked about that, and then that puts you over like the quotes. So like you get over $5,000, you have to get quotes from different people. So, no, it's not, I'm not saying
Oh.
it's bad.
I was like, wait, what? Okay, let's get
So
some.
you guys, you've signed into 3-year contracts
Okay,
with these people. I mean, if you
Some
wanna
of
read
them, right?
Yeah,
Or
a
all
bunch of them.
All of them.
Separate, yes. What are you talking?
Contracts.
3-year contract, I was talking about a contract for Buganet.
Yep.
And we didn't know if there was a contract.
I'm pretty sure there is, but
Okay.
I'll double check.
If there's a contract, then we signed in, I'm okay with that, I just, to that point, like, next time around, maybe we do look at if it makes sense to look at it, that's all.
That's what I just read
Yeah.
down. I like that idea. Well, the other ones are under contract for 3 years, so we'll take a look at that. So still talking about snow. Kennybunk Pond, that's been happening for a long time now. Depends on how much snow we get. We budget the 1,200. It's one of those, you can't really tell what's gonna happen things. Transfer station. So what was said to be happening at the transfer station, and I remember this from meetings, from board meetings from the past, is they were supposed to make a pass going up the hill so the guys could get their cars in there, and then they jump in the loader and do the rest of it. Apparently that's not what was happening. So the prior contractor was just doing the whole thing out of the goodness of his heart for that amount of money. I have a hard time even starting my truck for that. You probably feel it too. So they tried it this year for the plowing, and it took like 8 hours to do the plowing with the backhoe with one of our major storms that we had. They're asking that we change that contract for it to be plow all of the hot top and sand it. And that's the price that he got to do that.
At least it's in the budget. I remember how many years did it slip through the budget that we weren't even thinking about plowing the town hall or.
Well, that's why I
or
like
the
the
transfer
detailed line
station.
items.
Yeah,
It kind of makes it hard for you to forget.
yeah, no, that's good. That's why I was asking about that earlier.
So
That's
to
where I was going.
modify the existing
Yeah.
contracts to be 9,000?
Correct.
Ouch.
Beginning July 1st.
This is, we're locked in for 3 years for this person,
Well,
so
you're
it'll
not-
be 2 more.
You're not locked in, there are, you can, what is it, terminate the.
Yeah,
the
we-
cause and stuff like that,
yeah.
so.
So if they choose not to do it, or if it violates our having to go out for bid,
Yeah, they were taking like
it would
30
be a
days.
conversation with these people.
So we do at least, if the estimate is 6,000 here, wouldn't we need to get at least 3 quotes according to,
You would need, it's 9,000.
9,000. 6,000 added to the 3,000.
to the, yeah.
Yeah.
But before it was only 3,000, so we didn't have to get a quote. But now, wouldn't we have to get a quote?
So it would be
So-
like a conversation with the person, hey, we're gonna
Three-
terminate this
3
contract.
quotes, yeah.
We give them a heads up, I think it's 30 days notice. And we can explain to them, we're gonna increase, we're gonna change the parameters.
We're changing the scope.
Changing the scope, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you would invite them to put it in if they want to. So.
So it sounds like you're amenable to having it plowed.
I mean, I'm not super psyched that we
Well,
can't
I
do it
mean,
on
yeah,
our own, but I
it's-
get it.
So do you think that that amount of money, because that person already has the contract, is going to be sufficient?
Isn't that the amount of money that that person said that it would cost
Yes.
them?
So you want to stay with that.
Seems high. I think it seems high.
I think it seems
I
high as
do,
well.
yeah.
Somebody
And I thought
involved.
Bunganut was really high too. I mean, you're
Well,
plowing
we
10
will
month
be
pond.
soliciting quotes, so
You-
we're just setting the budget.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is, my only point is if somebody has already said, hey, we can do it and it would be 9,000, then we can budget that amount. If it comes in lower, then it just
Yeah,
it goes
I
back
think
to
that we're
surplus.
safe that way. I mean,
But I would like to leave it in people's pockets and not just take it out of their pocket and say, oh, it's going to go back into surplus. I would
don't
rather-
think There's a way to do that, yeah.
We can
Yeah.
start getting quotes now. And then see, I mean, it'll just sort of.
It's going to push off your budget.
Yeah.
And this is what we run into.
yeah, no, I get
So-
it, but I would feel comfortable sending that number because chances are it's not. I mean, if it can't come in within that, we got a problem. But I think that for budgetary reasons, it's
Well, I
a
mean-
safe number to go with.
Worst case scenario, we put this out to bid, he bids on it, he bids 9 grand, because that's his number that he's carried. If that's the lowest number, then we're safe with the number we carry.
And just to be, and maybe we don't know the answer to this, the estimated price that was shared was 9,000. Is that based on a per storm or is that just hey, we'll just do it for 9 grand regardless of the amount? of
It's an
storm?
annual contract.
Yeah,
So
my point is if we get, blizzard after blizzard or,
it's still 9.
or if we get, 2 inches here, 2
Mhm.
inches there, it's the same. So that's
Yeah,
that's
it's
how
similar
my
to your,
contracts work. So
Yep.
realistically, I don't know if it is that high, but that's just what I do.
You think of that number too?
No.
so do you guys want to leave that? Do you want Randy to come in and talk to you more about it? Do you want me to ask Randy some questions? Are you good to leave it and move forward?
I am.
I'm okay to leave it at 9 and move forward because I don't know if that's gonna
Good for leaving it, but getting some quotes, because like if we could find out
Yeah.
before we lock the budget in, I mean, I'm fine leaving it for now, but with the caveat that if we could get some quotes before, we have to, then we could come back and be like, okay, no, we're gonna go with this, so let's lower this. I mean, I'm fine doing it that way, but
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean,
Well, it depends on
I don't
how-
want to be like, oh, we'll just take 9,000 out, and it's gonna go back to surplus.
So
Right.
we can
I don't
try to
like
get
that.
some quotes before your next budget meeting, because we have to come back and talk about Bunganet anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if we can get somebody to come give us 2 other quotes, in the meantime.
Can we find out if Bunganut's under contract, and if it's not, can we lump those two together normally to start with? Bunganut transfer station.
If it's
If it's
I don't
not
see
under
why not.
contract.
You can always do that, like I said, there's always
Yeah.
that termination clause, you can always, it's just having the conversation with the person
Mhm.
and doing those things.
I mean, if it's not under contract. but-
Yeah.
Because I Kennebunk Pond, 16 plows at $75 a whack. How much bigger are they plowing at Bunganut?
No idea.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's- yeah.
Right. And it's more money. They can't be plowing much more than they're plowing the space of Kennebunk.
I just feel like Kennybunk might be given
Yeah, because.
Mhm.
that's all I'm saying, you might be surprised.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll work on that piece, we'll work on the Bunganet piece, and the last piece here is under contract.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and we do have a fuel surcharge, so there's a little bit in there if it goes over $6 a gallon, which since we started the contract, we're gonna be in year 2 of 5. So I haven't seen anything yet. And hopefully we won't.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, waste services. So trash removal, same person, I contacted them, they gave me some detailed information. There was a request last year to split out, because Kennebunk Pond used to be with Recreation, which was also with the park over here. And there was a request to split that out so we could figure out the cost for Kennebunk. So if you see something go down, like as in the porta potties on this line on the very bottom, it's because I moved the porta potties for Kennebunk Pond into a Kennebunk Pond account.
Okay.
Okay?
Mhm.
So nothing really has changed majorly there. Bunganet. So I have 2 different things. We wanted to go with dumpsters last year, or we used to have somebody pick it up. So I have a cost to pick it up, and I worked in some dumpster prices. Enough, not enough. You kind of spoke to all the dumpster people last year.
Yeah, we were using. Yeah, we ended up picking, I think, what's the word? It's not cheaper.
Cost effective.
What was more cost effective
She knows me well now.
for dumpster services at Bunganet. But then we ended up, I think, having to pay someone to pick up the trash.
Yeah, it was overflowing. So, how much was that?
Mostly it was about the 1,100 or it was 1,200.
Yeah.
I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Yeah, so I think we have enough if whether we want to have somebody pick it up. And the reason we started going with the dumpsters is because the vermins were getting into it. Or doing a dumpsters. You look confused, Jessica.
Well, I just want to clarify, we put the dumpster over there, right?
We did last year.
I think we need to again, just based on what we had heard from the Y and how if it's not picked up and they try to stick it in that
Mhm.
old changing room spot and then they get creatures
Mhm.
in there and that's not safe for kids or people, quite honestly.
Okay. So I left it here so we could have that conversation. And we did one dumpster over there?
1, 2, It's not like super great. Let me see.
Yeah, and I think it was like $1,100, $1,200, if I remember right.
So
So
the,
you might want to go a little bigger, because they were saying it had rained so much, right? They were saying they couldn't get it out to dump it.
Well, that was because the roadway down to get to it
Got washed out.
got
didn't
washed
it?
out.
Yeah.
We did fix that.
Mhm.
And that was, we just had so much rain.
Yeah.
so the dumpster at 2,500, the trash removal, 7 months, 28 weeks at 70, or dumpsters, is the $2,500, is that for dumpsters?
You have two sides. You have so the dumpster went on the beach side.
Oh, that's why my face was confused.
Okay. So what we did was we did a dumpster on the beach side and we did trash pickup on the field side.
Mhm.
So if it comes down to it, maybe we need dumpsters on the field side. That's why I left it pickup or dumpster, depending
But
on.
do we know the price of the dumpsters?
It was $1,100 for that. So I added a little bit to picking it up to replace it with a dumpster. I don't know exact price
That-
on a dumpster.
Yeah, so I only ask because 28 weeks at 70 is 1960.
Yeah, so you add a little bit more for the dumpster, which is
Yeah,
what I
there's also
did.
The rental fee for the dumpster, usually do it a monthly rental.
So I increased that. or-
Every week.
Yeah,
You know?
That was an
he's pretty good about that, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well, the dumpster wasn't, but
Mine's like 135 a month, and I get 2 dumps, so if you're getting 4 dumps, you gotta be 270 a month at least, somewhere in
Yeah.
the ballpark. So you do
Yeah.
that by 7 months.
So if we go with the 7 months at 70, is that,
you can reduce it, it will be reduced.
And can't we reduce the dumpster though, because the dumpster doesn't really need to be there, I don't think, until the camp is there. Which doesn't happen until June, like the end of
You
June.
go the lakeside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the agreement was, when I got a bunch of different quotes.
We
and
started late too.
I think the person we chose said they were fine with leaving it there. Other companies would charge you.
Right.
To take it away.
So that was
and
my
bring
only
it back.
reason for saying that was,
Yeah.
if it's gonna be like a monthly fee, then you don't have to start until.
But some
Mhm.
companies, like we chose to leave it there, they would charge us for that if it's there, whether we use it or not.
Right.
Then if we chose, okay, we're just gonna have it for these months, they would charge us, I think, there was one company, I think they charge you whether you have it there or not. It was weird. I have to look at my notes and go back to that. But we had, this was back when, only a year ago, we talked about it.
Yeah.
And brought a couple different quotes, so, you know, we picked one and then
and the trash removal for the 28 weeks at $70, that's one person that they go once a week and pick up the trash?
Yeah, he'll go out there if it's overflowing too.
So it's not somebody that we wait like 3 months because we don't know there's trash out there and then they're like.
No,
"This
it's
is
the same
full," and-
contractor we have for Kennybunk Pond.
Okay. I think I'd be in favor of going with the 7 months at 70 and reducing that 2,500 to.
You're talking no dumpster on the lakeside?
No, on the ball field side.
Oh, but I feel the same way.
No,
If it's
I'm talking about the pond.
Yeah, a
Side.
dumpster needs to be at the pond. You can't be somebody going to pick it up once a week. Because it's gonna sit there until they get there, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I'm saying that, didn't we have a dumpster at there last year?
Yeah.
That got so full that nobody,
There's a couple of different issues going on. There's like some lack of communication on the last part. And, you know, so when we called the contractor, they went right out and did it.
okay,
So I think there's a couple different elements at play,
Well, it was new.
played into it. It was new, it was, you know, we hadn't done that before. Their issue was with putting the trash in the shed or wherever they got, critters were getting in it. So maybe is it, you know, when we look at upgrading that we put a bin out there that belongs to us, that we own, so critters can't get in it, and then we do have trash service, or we do the dumpster service. That's kind of what the law is presenting to us, because they're like, animals are getting in it, they're dragging the trash everywhere, and we're having to clean it up. So we did get a dumpster. It was a new thing, some communication got dropped, and then it got resolved.
So I will be the pain in the butt again. I guess I would want to know what the cost of the dumpster is going to be. Because if somebody's going to say to me, oh, I'm going to go out every Wednesday at 10:30 and I'm going to pick up your trash for $70 a week, then, you know, I feel like that's, like, we know it's automatically going to be done. We don't have to worry about, hey, nobody's picking up the trash, hopefully. But I guess I would want to know what the cost of the dumpster would be for having it there that same time before I decided on
No, I
that.
would agree that I wanna know how much the dumpster is. I'm in favor of the dumpster only because of the volume and knowing that it's from there. But again, I don't know.
Okay, we can feel it back, okay. So we'll look at that.
Thank you.
Porta potties for Bunganet. So there was some talk last year about adding a couple more porta potties over at the lakeside. So I put $11.90 in there to cover that.
And I didn't get anything from the Y, like if they wanted, we did an increase, because I asked for that.
Mhm.
So I didn't get any feedback from them if they felt like they needed more of an increase, or if it was fine the way it was.
They provide the ones for the camp part, right? No, we do.
We've always provided that.
Okay.
No more questions there? Okay. Kennybunk Pond, trash removal. Same. I usually put the number in there. Same with the porta potties. Hopefully with some of the changes going on over there, we'll be able to get a handicapped one placed in there. Roadside pickup of trash, that's usually a crapshoot, can be more some years, less others.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't not say anything. I gotta go back for a hot second to porta potties. Would you mind, Lindsay, reaching out to the Y and asking them, if they're able to provide the porta potties for their camp? I really feel like they did. So like when you come in, you go over to the campsite, because those are specifically for the camp,
You talking the pines or the two like keeping?
by the mansion.
Yeah, by the green, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They talk
Can
to
we
me
just
when they
confirm
fix.
that they pay for those porta potties? Because those are not available to Lyman Public, so if Lyman is paying for those and paying for the Y contractors to manage it, they're getting free porta potties for their camp, that's not cool. But I think maybe we're just confused with which porta potties are which, because, or I hope that's the case. Like, I know the porta potties that the kids use are like over in their little section, and like anyone at the beach doesn't just go over and use those porta potties.
So just the ones that are sit over by the mansion.
I think if we just find out which porta potties we pay for, because I think we pay for the ones on the ball field side, we pay for the ones,
We
and
do.
there's some probably at the Pines, because we rent that out for town.
There's like a league that gives us one for the ball field side.
Yes,
Mississippi,
no.
Yeah,
Mississippi, yeah.
So there's something going on there where we had to bring in the porta potty earlier, and we ended up getting, the league didn't put in any last year for that handicap porta potty over there, because we had to start in like April for something else, and it's not for the soccer club, or it was for another club that's doing something over there at that point in time. Maybe it was for baseball. But the league isn't. But the league isn't.
There was T-ball.
Little League does T-ball and coach. So I guess, sorry, I digressed and dragged us backwards. I just wanna make sure that we aren't paying for the Wise specific porta potties that they use for the camp.
Hmm.
And those are the ones over by the mansion. There's like, I think 4 of them, at least 4 of them over there.
Yeah.
Jill has a question, Rusty.
It's just, I have a question. It's not really, question. We actually talked about porta potties at the Bangladesh Pond committee on. And we talked about the, like soccer and baseball, usually you pay for a porta potty for that sign, for the donation they give. Because one of the things that the committee brought up was that there should be actually just a fee schedule, and the town just pays for porta potties. There's no, oh, the team taking care of that porta potty, that one's taking, like, this wound up where now we're hearing town pay for a porta potty when it should have been the league. And we had talked about that last night, about having a fee schedule set for, or a donation schedule set. And that way the leagues don't have to worry about providing the porta potties. We're going to present that to consideration.
Well, I think backlog, talk too much today. I think backlog, it was just one league using that at one point. But now there's like all these other leagues that have signed up. So this year or last year, when the bill came, I asked Holly, why are we getting the bill for this? Because it's usually the ball club.
Mhm.
And she said, well, the ball club is not using it right now. We need it for X, Y, and Z. And we ended up paying for it the whole year. So I actually like you guys' idea.
Or I think if that's the case of they are paying for it, then they need to facilitate the calling and getting it and leave the town out of it.
Mm.
You're, you know, if it's for one league
I think that
and,
at one point that's what they did. But where there's another league,
Yeah, we
Using
rented
the
out
field.
And we actually rented
Yeah.
out to that other place that it was like a homeschooling
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
They weren't like a big, yeah, you know, so, yeah, we've been renting it out to like these other things. You know, that, you know, maybe we make that a requirement. Or they're.
yeah, or there's the,
Here's the fee.
yeah, this is your fee. If you want to use the field, here's your fee,
Right,
and this
that
includes
covers-
the
that
porta
porta
potty.
potty is there.
Town's not getting it.
you know, yeah.
Sorry, I brought us way back.
Sorry.
Okay. So we were at roadside trash pickup. That's kind of a crapshoot. Some years it's better, some years it's worse. And then we have the porta potty at the salt shed. So we do that for 4 months. So that one's not ready to go.
Yeah.
So energy, we've managed, we budget for 2.49 for the propane. And we've been lucky enough that when it comes on the market in the spring, that we've been pulling it in, but we don't know until
Mhm.
it hits the commodities market. So I'm still budgeting for the 2.49, and we're doing pretty good with that, but you just don't know till you get there. So electricity for the town hall, I've looked at the history on that, so I've dropped that down a couple grand, just based on the history.
And we locked in, when they remind me, with Constellation last year, don't remember how long.
I think we did the 5-year because the longer contract you got
The
in,
lower
the
the-
lower rate you
yeah.
got.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember, I knew it was longer than a year, so, good.
So recreation, that would be over here. The concession stand, they were using it more than in the past. That was because of the ice rink and things like that. But looking at the history, I feel pretty good that we could drop that back down as well.
Electricity for it, okay.
Okay. Bunganut, looking at the history, I feel good that we can drop that one down too. Good. Kennybug Pond. There's new lighting out there. It's a crapshoot. Have no idea. So I increased that one by $600. Transfer station. This is something to talk about. I made a note, added security and lighting. Are we planning on doing any lighting out there? I mean, I don't know. We had to nix it with the ARPA.
If we put lighting there, added lighting, does that mean we could stay open later on Thursday? If we have winter hours at the transfer station now.
Well, I think that was the original plan when I first came here. They were open, and then it's like, no, it's really dangerous. So at some point we started closing it because it was dark, and then we've always tried to get lighting in there. We put it into the ARPA plan, but it got nixed from the ARPA plan because of cost. So is that something I wanted to ask you guys? Is that something, it's on the list, on my project list?
Since it's only needed during the winter when the days are short. See those lights on roadside projects, paver projects at night, all those portable lights that are rented?
Yeah, that they lay down and then they just put them up. Mm.
I wonder if that'll be something to look at.
Well, we talked about that.
I think the plus was you could
Before.
take it, use it, if we needed to use it. sometime.
Yeah, if we needed it for
Great.
emergency services. So we had talked about that at one point. I know those are,
Sorry,
Ex- cut it out.
I don't know what she said. That's what I was saying. I'm like, sorry, I'm not gonna.
I never used to get good grades with that.
Oh, sure they
I
are.
think they're like 8 to 10 grand.
And that's why we did.
Because if we were gonna spend that, we were just gonna hook it up.
To my way of thinking, I don't think it would cost as much as that to rent them for the
I
4
was gonna
months
say,
that
we
the
could
days are,
rent it.
that the days are shorter.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Just a thought. But it definitely haven't been making some improvements, so. I had forgotten that we took the lighting out of that.
The lighting that's on your project list. We going to move forward with the prices on that. Is that what the thought was? I mean, I think in the long run, that'd be the cheapest.
Well, we have
You're gonna
pricing.
get so much more than you would with one power.
We have pricing from the ARPA bids. I can't imagine that they're gonna change much. What was it, 40, 60?
For one night a week, though.
40,000, 60,000?
Well, I mean, one lawsuit.
But you
But
could
if
buy
we're
the
not-
rent, you could buy
We could
the
either rent
tow
or
thing
we
for
could
10?
Not open. And keep it the way it is now. For that money, that's my own personal.
Yeah, no, I agree. What a gig.
Well, these are things that just come up that I put in my little file.
Hmm.
When I,
But if one of those
Dealing
little
with it.
tow things is 10 to 15, I mean, that's something we would own,
And have to be things to take care of and keep track of.
but we're gonna have to own, we're gonna maintain the
I'm just
lighting
saying
and
we
we're
could
gonna,
rent one of those little things.
yes,
If
yes,
there
if,
was that, like, if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
Maybe we rent one to try it and see if it makes sense to do it. I don't know.
yeah.
I just, all of that for one, to get one extra evening hours session at the transfer station seems seasonally.
Yeah.
seems a little-
Everybody gets a hat with a flashlight on it. Pass them out at the bottom of the hill.
You get them for 25 cents on Temu.
There, now you're talking.
Oh, boy. All right.
so do you feel comfortable with the 4,500?
I do.
Yeah, not if we're not gonna add any lighting though. We're
Well,
not
that's
gonna do
why I
it. Yeah,
made a big
that's-
note, is because I know we were talking about it.
I just don't think the cost outweighs the benefit at this time to do that. For me personally.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we're gonna put that project on the back burner. Yeah.
That's-
For the moment,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that out. And the roads, I feel comfortable lowering that down, given the history.
Wow, does that decrease the LED lights?
Hmm,
Wow,
yeah.
that's close.
Well, we had the LED lights go in, but then they had the rate hike, that big rate hike
Yeah.
in the same year. So it was kind of hard for us to tell what was gonna actually happen. But yeah, that it's really doing a great job out there. Okay, so I think lighting is, energy is good, yes?
seems as though
I don't
Yeah.
think we had any, all right. Okay, signage, regular recreation, which would be over here. So that would be, we left that flat funded at 500. The Bunganut, like I said, because of the need of signage out there, I did increase that. I doubled it. And then everyone else, I flat funded. Till you get to roads. So the actual signage is flat funded. But what we need are those barriers. You know, those white and orange things you take apart that you put across a road. Don't cross here. Because right now all we have are cones. And people blow them over.
like a sawhorse type of thing.
Yeah, those things.
Barricade.
Yeah. Yep. So we put in 2,000 to start acquiring some of those.
Do we have a place to keep those? And
Yeah,
keep those in our rental?
I asked that question to Brad, I was like, where do you store all this stuff? He said he was using whatever the space was he was renting from us.
Yeah, on Davis Road.
Yeah, and I think it was like in his storage, so that's long ago.
And sometimes they have a little bit of room at the transfer station.
Yeah.
It should be
don't
somewhere
go
that's all
there. So, and Tom is storing a lot of it at his garage. So he's got the signs over there and the post over there. So that's where he's storing it. Yeah, and the cones are over there. Yeah.
But just after this last crazy one.
Yeah, that's when we added them. Yeah, that's when we added them and thought we should start acquiring some of those. You guys good with that budget?
Yeah, looks good to me.
Okay. So we can't do transfer station because we're waiting on the hauling contracts. Parks.
Coming right up soon.
Yeah, Parks and Rec, page 38. So we replaced the rink liner because once you use it, you can't really dry it out. So that increased a little bit just because everything's increasing a little bit.
What page are we on?
38.
38, okay, the next one. Just for a minute, I was back in school cheating on a test.
The fuel, we had originally put in some fuel because somebody was gonna snow blow the ice rink, but they've never spent any money on that, so I took it out. Advertising, Holly and I sat down and talked about the advertising, and they're using free advertising formats now. So, I mean, she doesn't put it in the paper. We e-blast it and things like that. So she doesn't feel that she needs any money for that. Her recreation programs, she feels comfortable leaving at where she is. Of course, with COVID gone, they're doing a lot more, so maybe next year.
Do you know if the attendance things are well attended even without paid advertising?
I-
E-blasting and whatnot? Because, I mean, I don't have kids, I haven't
Yeah,
done the
she-
things, but.
So she buys stuff and she does the Christmas decorating thing, the pumpkin decorating thing. They've done bat
Mhm.
houses.
No, I see all the things on the
Yeah,
list,
they-
and so I was just curious
Kids-
if it's well attended.
It's about
So-
20 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Quite a bit, yeah.
Concerts in the park.
That was very.
They've been
those
really
were- yeah,
huge.
I
Yeah.
enjoyed those, actually. I like the.
So then we add some miscellaneous money in there for whatever else is needed. They needed snow shovels one year, that's why I have that note in there, but you just never know. They needed to get, I think, some wood this year to level out the rink or do something with the rink. I forget what it was, but I know they purchased some wood for that. Communications, there's a phone at Buganut, so I put in for that. Yeah, it's Jimmy rigged right now. But if somebody would be willing to dig out the hole, I have somebody who's willing to donate the conduit and put it in. And then if somebody's willing to cover the hole, we can get it done for free.
How far? How long?
Huh?
How long? Like how far? Do you have to go?
It's not very far.
Where is that?
From the mansion. It's the phone in
It's-
the mansion, the lines.
Yeah, so the line comes out through the ground. We were over there, I can't even quite remember. Comes out through the ground and there's a section to go to the pole.
Maybe
That-
we should do that since I didn't, at the same time, I go grab those things. Because they didn't get grabbed before the snow came, because didn't get my tractor home. I
Yeah,
do it that Saturday, but I ended up changing over seasons and then we had that big snowstorm right after that. So I never did get over and pick those things up yet. So that's gonna have to wait a little bit.
Mhm.
So
well, I
maybe-
wouldn't imagine we can dig in the ground.
Not right now, but
Yeah,
that's why I'm
so-
saying, if I'm gonna have to go over there and
Yeah.
snag those, we could run the backhoe at the same time,
Yeah, that would be awesome.
put those conduits in.
Yeah.
Run a vacuum a wire through it so we can pull the wire.
Mm-hmm.
When it's time.
Well, when you,
Who would you want me to speak to about that?
either me or Lindsay, and we can hook you guys up.
Okay. Why not?
And
It's
the
gonna be
phone,
there.
the phone would be like a landline phone?
It's a
versus
landline
okay.
phone, and I'm shutting it off for the winter and then turning it back on. So I've done that with the electricity this year as well. There's no internet there,
To
Rusty.
a phone. Mine's to a phone.
You bet it's a landline, like a,
So who uses the phone? What's the phone used for?
Emergencies,
yeah, but you can't have like internet. They would both,
One or the other.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, cause if you're using, it's like a fax machine. If you're using the
What
fax
emergency?
machine on that line, it's the fax or the phone.
if there's a drowning, it's in the mansion. And it
I'm just
was,
saying, they have site phones, so like I've never gotten a call from that phone. I can hear it. It's a cell phone that they'll carry around.
it's in their contract.
Yeah, but the wire requested it, and they brought it to
Yep.
us saying it doesn't work, it needs to be fixed.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's
Yeah,
something to
I know.
apologize for. I'm just curious because
And in this day and age, you have your cell phones and,
well, I text some of them like, hey,
yeah.
come in early, get my kids out of the way.
Yeah.
I think just one of those, like, what if things, you know, if my home is dead.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's okay, sorry.
Yeah. Parks and Rec good?
Didn't know if we had a high
Yeah.
security system on that mansion over there.
Yeah, it's called the Big Rat from the lake. 'Cause nobody wants to go in there. Do you guys want to do reserves or call it?
I'll go in there.
With the Big Rat?
Yeah.
There you go.
Parks and Rec is okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna move that
I'll go
on.
with it.
I wanna do that if it's okay, I'd like to do that like all together with the wages,
Okay.
if that works.
Do you need an answer for something?
No, we talked about the last meeting, like, you know, pay out
For,
some, pay out all, pay out none, because I'm working on the policy. So I'd
Yeah.
like to have the policy ready by the next select board meeting. I'm trying to tie up some stuff to get to there, but some of it falls in like, do you want to pay out your PTO or, you know, keep it
right,
back?
because we
So
were
legally
thinking about,
obligated to pay out certain pieces of that at departure.
You know, we found out we were not obligated, for exempt.
you're obligated for under a
Boarding,
contract
right?
that you're under.
Yes, yeah, just the one. And then there was, you know, rollover amounts. you know, to put a cap, so that, because I think the thing is that people were banking so many
Mhm.
hours and then it have to pay it out, but maybe we could put a cap on.
Well, I didn't realize people weren't earning hours until last meeting, so there's that.
Yep, there's that too.
So,
Oh, I missed something.
Yeah, I thought-
Didn't.
Didn't we ask for it to be in writing too? Like to have the numbers for when we talked about it again?
Oh, yeah, she's bugged me all week about
We
it.
talked about steps,
Yep,
so
Yeah.
we can still review or get at least a draft of a policy in front of us at the next meeting without having to,
yeah, we can, I'm fine, I'm open to that.
okay. Sorry, I feel like we're on a roll to get the budget committee stuff that I want.
are we, you okay? Are you sure? I'm not gonna cry. All right.
Oh, come on.
You know Jessica can be mean, but come
So
on.
mean. Talking about dumpsters and porta potties over here, sorry.
So computers, I did that, I flat funded it. This is the reserve account, mind you.
Okay.
So I wrote down currently as of 1/17, your balance there is $20,660. Transfer station, we had talked about compactors, but about buying compactors and how much they are. We've talked about that in detail. And there's a current balance in that account of $59,000. So for reserves, do you want to create a reserve account for compactors? Because they're like $50,000 a piece, and we have 4 of them, 2 of them,
I thought there were
$20,000 a
20,000
piece.
apiece.
Yeah.
So what would be nice is to build up a reserve to be able to cover all of the 20,000 each, there's 4 of them,
Mm-hmm.
so that, or else we go on
So
a
what
2 here,
we
2 there, 1 a year. I mean, I don't know, what's the expectancy of a life of a compactor?
talked about last year is, because you guys have that warrant article that says whatever they bring in, that it go over and above what we figured for the budget, the balance goes into the reserve account for the transfer station. You guys voted that 6 years ago, 7 years ago. We ran into an issue where we were seriously underfunded, and that account got depleted. So last year, because we finally fixed the budget for the transfer station for tipping fees, last year we brought in $59,000. That
Above and
50,
beyond.
that's what that 59,000 is above and beyond.
But that
Oh.
also has to cover if we have another year where it just goes haywire.
Mhm.
Or if something seriously breaks over there. So when we talked last year, we knew that we were gonna have some above and beyond. And you guys decided not to put money in a reserve for compactors at that time. So the question is, do you want to put money in a reserve for compactors specifically when you have the above and beyond accounts? And that's back on track.
I mean, I think it's a smart idea to do. I would, one, like to find out what is, like Vicky said, what's the life expectancy of a compactor?
I don't think it's this long.
And then how do we do we do one a year? Do we build up the reserve so that we're replacing one so that, yeah, it's every
Every 4
year,
years,
you
they're
know.
replaced.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
they're all
there's more
replaced.
life than that.
Those compactors
I-
were about 10 years old. When we bought them, we bought 4 of them. And the trash ones are the ones that should be replaced before the recycled, because the trash ones work harder, they push
Yeah.
right up.
There.
And I think, I'm not positive, I think when we bought them, they were 20 years.
They were already 20 years old?
No.
No,
They
they're
were
Oh.
brand new. They, the life expectancy was.
Yeah.
The
20
life
years.
expect, okay.
They last quite a while.
Maintained, because we put biodegradable oil and all that junk into them and sort of stuff and everything, so.
Right.
Quick, I have a
So-
question. So is the recyclable ones different from the regular trash ones?
No.
Can we swap them out?
No, because the trash
The
ones are
reason
trash.
being
Yeah.
is because the way they're set into the hoppers are made in them.
Okay.
Because the hoppers are made in one of them, so you dump into them, okay?
Yeah.
And they slide with hoppers underneath them. The other one is you just dump it inside of it.
Oh,
They're
okay,
built- They're built differently.
okay.
They
Well,
do
my
the-
thought was
they
we
do the
could switch
same
them out.
thing. They do the same thing, but they're built differently.
Yeah,
And the stroke on the one for the trash is a longer stroke than the ones for the. And the reason we did that was because when we had the silver bullets originally, when those were the canisters that you went and threw the stuff in the window.
Mhm.
And the room, you put the stuff
Oh,
in.
man.
And then-
Oh,
Yeah.
We were paying whatever the hauling fee was at the time, $70 or whatever
We're
it was,
calling care.
for 1 ton of recycle. When we went to the compactors.
Yep.
We held the same rate to haul.
Yep.
But we were hauling 7 or 8
More
or something
tonnage.
tons
Mhm.
by going that way.
yeah, and that's one of the reasons with the loader is they break down the bulky
But they
To
put
do the
bulky
same
in
thing.
Yeah.
for the same reason. All right, it was just an idea.
So I would be in favor of putting 20,000 in a reserve, well, doing the reserve account for the compactors and putting 20,000 in it.
You
Just,
probably have to replace or repair the cart before you do the compactors, because they get stove up, the people
Yeah.
that haul it.
yeah,
And in your contract, when you do that, there ought to be some responsibility for the hauler to take care of those canisters, because they don't belong to them, they belong to
yeah,
us.
that's, yeah.
We're the ones responsible for them, but
Yeah, and I know they've gotten beat on
if
before.
they
Yeah.
beat them up, something awful.
Lindsay and I have talked about that.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
since sometimes we won't know, like, you got a current balance now of 59,973 because
Right.
it's not ever
Over
gonna be
and above.
exactly the same. I wouldn't want to hamstring us to having it all be for compactors in case of something
So you,
ending up, you have to buy a can, you gotta fix this, you gotta do that. But some of it, I would wanna put away.
Yeah, but I think-
For a reserve over time, so that at least something is going, so it doesn't just come up.
but the 59,973, that's already in the transfer station reserve account that's set up
Transfer
now.
station reserve account that you guys set up for the over and above.
So that would still be there. This would just be a separate reserve account
Well, that's
for
the question.
compactors.
Yeah, so
Do you guys want it to be a separate and distinct
That's,
for just compactors? Or do you want to put reserve money? I'm just asking.
okay, I'm
It's-
no,
it's
I'm,
okay.
yeah.
if it fluctuates, what about a percentage towards compactor reserve? And then we don't have to raise.
Well, what if we then have another year, like a COVID year, and then we blow this 59,000 budget and we only put in 2% to go to the compactor, so we have $75.
Well, I wouldn't go 2%.
Well, I mean, I'm just
I
saying
was
that,
thinking more of a 50-50 kind of a thing, no matter if it's, say it's $50,000, we put 25 in. If it's $50, we put 25 in.
But then that money's stuck for just compact.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's,
And you would have to
so here's the
rewrite 2 warrant articles.
And so here's the question. So we have this one already that exists for the above and beyond
Mhm.
that can take care of an
Correct.
emergency alert. Hypothetically, we could, I'm not in favor of this, but we could say, oh, hey, we want to buy a can this year out of that.
Yes, you can.
So
It's not
my point
earmarked.
is if we start to fund a compactor, separate and distinct compactor one, are we able to then say, okay, we have this much money in the compactor and we have, all of a sudden we have an amazing above and beyond year this year. We want to take this much money out of the compactor line and this much money out of this line to buy 2 cans.
Your above and beyond warrant article was not specific. It was only specific to transfer station.
And so my point is
You
if we
can't-
had a really great year,
Mhm.
and we could still use that to help.
Yes, you could.
if we-
But you couldn't- You can't match the two. Like, you can't say,
No,
oh, well,
yeah.
move the money here and not here. You can't do that. You could do 1 and 1, yes.
Well, since we technically not having a COVID year that we know of right now,
Oh, let's not do this
let's.
again.
yeah, let's never do
But
that.
why don't, this is one year of it.
Mhm.
59,973, that's not to say that it's not gonna be more next year. I mean, obviously, it could go up, it could go
Well,
down.
that was kind of why I asked that
Uh,
question.
Then, as, just take the money, it doesn't have to be earmarked for compactors, so it doesn't have to, if we wanna buy one, we can buy one out of that. It's still a reserve account for the transfer station.
Right, and
And
without
again,
adding to the tax.
We haven't hamstrung ourselves to only making it for one thing.
But then do compactors always get pushed to the back if there's funds that are needed elsewhere,
That can only be
That's
used for transportation.
Well, yes, but I mean, like, so the loader breaks down
Mhm.
and like, it's not worth fixing. You need to buy a new loader.
I know.
Well, yes, but I'm saying
Right?
that like,
So-
as it builds up,
Right.
then, and I'm not like,
So while
I mean,
we're
my mind
having
can be
this
changed, but
conversation-
I feel like compactors, until we have the new compactors, I feel like compactors need to be prioritized by themselves so they don't get lost and then down the road.
So would you be in favor of making a compactor reserve account and say we did $2,500 or $5,000 a year? We put in it, and then if it's $5,000 a year per se, then every 4 years we could get a new compactor. At $20,000.
I
What do
mean,
you, I'm asking you. what
yeah,
are
no,
you
but then
thinking?
I think like, well, that's it. That's what it, like, if the life expectancy is 20 years and you want to, like, I would think you would want to start thinking like around year 18 or 19, like, okay, we got to replace this one. And so in theory, yes, you could have, if you did 5,000 a year, you could have enough money, but these aren't new and we don't know when
You're already
one's-
10 years behind the 8 ball on
Yeah,
this one.
so we don't know when they're gonna push, you know, a load of recycling in and they're like, oh, we just blew the back
Put
end
them in
out,
10
or,
years ago.
Yeah,
Brand new, though.
they're already
They
10
could have
years old.
10 years. theoretically.
So,
Right.
Okay, so
But
let
the
me
other ones
throw a
are
wrinkled
20.
peanut in there. We talked about the loader and that it needs new rims and new tires.
Mhm.
And Randy had somebody send a quote for $23,000 to sandblast and repaint the loader. And the rims are horrible. I have pictures here if you guys want to look at them. So that above and beyond account can take care of things like this as well. So it's just to give you guys some idea.
If the above count got so big, if you have to do that, could that be used for lighting
Yes,
up there down the road?
yes,
So we don't want to have to come out of capital improvement.
yes. As the way it's written, it says for transfer station. So if it's transfer station, yes.
There's maybe a maintenance, like, cycle there for anything. Sorry.
So it does now.
Okay.
So more towards the loader and backhoe and the greasing of the machines, of the compactors and stuff. So that hopefully that kind of gives you some idea of, and maybe helps you.
So you said that was 24,000?
23,000.
And that's just for painting and sandblasting.
Yeah.
And then it was another 5,000 if you did new rims?
Yep.
Did he ask about if the rims were able to be sandblasted and painted?
He's going to find out.
Okay.
He did not ask. I suspect they're calcium filled with the way that they're, with the way those wheels
The
look.
air tube's not coming out yet.
Yeah,
I
that's
had a
right.
few of those.
So if we said right now, okay, we can take out of the above and beyond, we can do the loader and the lights. Well, that's it. That money's gone.
So the rims and the tires,
Well, yeah, but that's it.
8,500
Oh, 8,500. No, then I only.
for both those pieces. The rims were 5,000, the tires were 35.
Plus the 23,000.
If we decide.
If we decided to use the above and beyond, it would already be, we'd already be at 28,000 left over. And then Michelle had said, could we use that for lighting? Which Jeanette said, yes, you could. So I'm just thinking like the above and beyond account, to me, that's the first place that we would go for things that happen at the transfer station. And I just think if we were saying like, oh, we can hold on to that and we'll eventually get compactors out of that. I think when
Yeah,
it
no,
comes
no,
down to it,
They're 10 years behind.
We're not. We just said they're only 10 years old.
They're 10 years old.
With
a
In-
life
in
expectancy of
another-
10.
In another 10
Got it.
years.
Oh,
Okay.
the
two
life
of them.
expectancy of,
I mean, a life expectancy of 20.
then will be,
Right,
Be
but
tired.
that's only two of them. The other
So-
two are already over
so
20 years old.
8,000 a year for the next 10 years would get them all replaced.
Wouldn't that stagger?
Well, yeah, that I would,
I would
yeah, I
stagger.
would definitely recommend staggering them, like figuring out,
But if they're all coming due.
Okay, I'm in favor of setting up a separate and distinct reserve account for transfer station compactors and putting 10 in it this year to start.
I can-
I'm just throwing that out there so that maybe we get somewhere.
Yeah.
So, open
Wait,
discussion.
how much did you
I'm-
save us on the electricity?
Quite a bit.
Well then, let's use that.
So 10,000?
I just threw a number.
I
just to
know.
get started.
Yeah, I think to start it, yeah, I think
I
that
don't-
that's a great idea
I was
to,
gonna say 5, but I know that's just a little bit,
yeah,
but
that's,
it's not nothing
yeah, it's not nothing,
to start.
but it doesn't even get us a half of a compactor.
No, but if we do it again next year, then we get.
Then we have one, yeah, but if we did 5, we'd have to wait 4 years to get one compactor.
All right,
Well,
then
this
how
year
about
we'd
a
have to-
compromise, 75, 75.
I'm good with that. I'm good with whatever to get this going.
Yeah, just to have something in there that's earmarked just for,
So 7,500.
that'd be fine with
All right, that's what it looks like.
Quiet about compactors. You didn't want to get in on this math?
Process it.
He's taking a nap. Who's good?
And,
All right, town hall, I put in 10 grand, same as before. Current balance is 33. The reval, year 5 of 10,
Remind me on the town hall, what do we use that for?
whatever the town hall needs.
Okay.
They used it for the HVAC system when I first came in here. So, yeah, that could be, that
Some
could be
electrical
generator
panel.
money,
Yeah.
electrical panel money. So,
Okay. I thought so. I just want to make sure I was.
revaluation, so I put in 22, just to try to get to that 200,000 mark within the 10 years. South Waterboro Reserve,
it. Sorry, I
Hot
thought
topic.
we had figured that out when we did the reserve to what it would be that we would, was that the next step up for year 5?
yes.
Okay.
So I have 88,000 right now. And we have 5 more years to go. Now you got
Remember,
me
there used to be
questioning
quite a
it.
bit of heartburn over this Siltwater. Borough
I know, I thought we had figured
Reserve.
I thought we had figured like exactly what we needed to put.
That road is,
Hold on, she's talking.
We're on Tuesday, sorry,
yeah,
She's
Oh.
talking about the.
I apologize.
Oh, it's okay.
I did hop ahead.
Okay, so 88 minus 200,000 equals 22,242.
So then we should technically bump that up to 22,242.
I think in the next 5 years, you might get $242 and we can.
I mean, I just
Let's
like,
go 250,
I know what you're looking for.
22,250.
You're looking for an even number for each of the rest of the years.
well, yeah, just like this is what we have to, it's like everybody knows. It's this is what so if we had a plan of this is what we needed to put in to get there, it just makes sense that we,
Well, we started off that way, but then we got some money back from the previous contract and that kind of made things a little weird.
okay, I'm fine with 22,000.
Okay.
I'll remember it for next year.
Okay, so
It'll be
South Waterboro.
400 and something else.
We talked about the PP, was it PP match?
Yep.
So the state aid road, they'll match it.
Yep.
You know, the discussion's always been the amount of money we have versus what we need to do what we need to do. It's just, in the time it would take. I mean, I remember.
And how
last-
long that program is
Yeah.
going to stay around.
Yeah, I remember Brad's take on it was, by the time we get to the amount we wanted, is the price of, paving the road is gonna go up so much that it's just back a little.
The thing is, this road is horrible, and the only way to make it not horrible is a whole major reconstruction, grading, as gravel, base, drainage, everything. And the state's been polishing it, just by a layer, and it's fine until the first frost, and then it starts cratering, and you can launch yourself off some of those spots.
Mhm.
And the
And it's,
conversation,
it's bad, so it's gonna take a lot, this is a drop in the bucket, what we have now and what we're gonna add is a drop in the bucket, but at the same time, we're planning for the future,
Mhm.
and
the
I was-
conversation last year was about putting that chunk in, because even if we got it to an okay place to pick like that worst section, right?
it'll be
Whatever
something,
that is,
yes.
As opposed to nothing, 'cause
Yeah, I agree, because for a while it was nothing. It was a place that we cut, and I remember Morris Greg Morris was always in favor. You gotta
Yeah,
make sure.
see?
I was gonna say, I don't want to go to a town meeting like that, I want to keep it in, so. And
I still miss him. I can hear him.
So you want 50 grand in there?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw his head bobbing.
No, don't disagree, I'm not speaking.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just
I've learned.
making sure you're with us right now.
Your silence is agreement.
Sorry, we're not trying to.
All right.
harm you.
So the miscellaneous ones, capital improvement, I put in 15, as we usually do. You got 116 right now. Disaster relief, I put in 5, you've got 12 now. Kennybunk Pond has $18 in it. Can we talk about whether we want to defunct that? Because we had started a reserve account and we're down to $18 and we did the rest of it with ARPA.
They have what they need at this point for the purpose of that committee.
As far as I'm aware, we're just finishing up installing cameras.
Could we just confirm that with them, make sure there's not anything outlined?
Yeah, I can reach out with Karen. I know cameras and a couple more signs I gotta get. Which I think we can take out of the signs budget, but.
I feel like we're there too, we haven't actually like heard that, so I just want to make sure.
I'm sorry, the gate hasn't been installed yet.
But the
Right.
funding
But
is
the
already
funding's
accounted
That,
for.
that
and covered
project is
somewhere.
underway.
Yeah.
Right, I just want to make sure like there's nothing that I just don't want it to be like, wait a minute,
We need
what
$18.
about,
Yeah, we need-
you know?
Yeah. We need $18.24.
Or any sum of money to do something that they thought they were gonna do.
So as requested by some people, I created a Bunganup Park Reserve, similar to what we did with Kennybunk Pond, and put 20,000 in there.
Is that what we put in, what were you putting in Kennybunk Pond?
10.
Yeah.
Oh, that's huge.
I understand, I know that, I'm asking the question regardless.
Fire hydrants 4, as usual. Matt's been doing some work with that. You currently have 16. Benefits reserve, we're almost there. 7715, like we have in the past. Charter commission, 1,000. So compensated absences, we've had a lot of conversation with this. I added 40,000 for compensated absences, but I think you made a good point.
I don't want it there.
Yeah, last time.
It's just encouraging somebody to violate the contract.
I agree with you. I agree with
I
you.
think that if something egregious happened and we were put into that position, then whoever is on the board at the time should have to go to the voters to say, this is where we're at, this is
Mhm.
what we need, we messed up.
Mhm.
Or whatever they need to say to ask for
Yeah.
that money to pay it out.
Yeah.
Like contractually, we're obligated, so,
Right. So is that the general consensus to
sorry, yeah, that's my
I-
opinion.
Yep,
That's- I agree with that.
I'd like to think we'd never be in that position.
Did
I
you
think
guys
it's
talk
important that
about
there's
this
that
last
type of-
meeting?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, thank you, because I'm like.
in
Oh, I'm sorry.
detail. In
I think
detail.
I've been trying to keep up, but I'm not with it. I got some of it. I think I understand what the question was, if we want to fund the compensated absences.
Absences, yeah.
And the plan time off, if everybody wanted,
So this one's
Cash
actually a
out.
little bit, this one's a little bit different. This is the amount, this dollar amount here is the dollar amount of how much we're contractually on the hook for. So if we turn around, because the town manager position has a contract in place, and if we were to terminate that contract without cause, without reason, just like, hey, we don't like you, or you looked at us wrong, or whatever it may be, we'd be obligated to pay that contract out.
Which is
So what I'm
72.
saying is, we shouldn't ever put ourselves in that position, and if the board at any given time does that, then they should have to go to the voters to say, hey, could I ask for some money from wherever we take surplus, wherever we take money from, to do that. I don't think we should have a budget line just in case that happens.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll make that 0. Is there any other discussion on those miscellaneous ones?
My only other thing, and I got a paper here somewhere, the actual leave balances on file for hourly employees.
That's like
currently are
$6,000.
like small dollars.
Minute,
and
yeah.
compared- Okay.
Because we're paying out the big one at your next meeting.
We're doing what?
The
You changed an employee from the exempt, non-exempt.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's when we start talking about exempt doesn't earn PTO and that's
Yeah.
down that road.
Yep, next time.
we've been like every hour.
I know.
Every hour we're chat. Okay, what about this? What about that? So trying to straighten all that out.
We will.
Okay, you guys, good with that? Those reserves. Do you want to move on, or you want to call it? The only others.
It's late and, the itch.
The only
You guys
other
gonna come
section
to
I
work
have
tomorrow?
is outsourced, so which we can leave. We
Yeah.
got a lot done. Ken gets to go to listen to another one very shortly. And Michelle. I know, he always looks excited.
Who isn't excited about budgets? Come on, I love budgets.
Actually,
My daughter actually asked me, she's like, what's so interesting with town? And I was like, budgets. I like them. I can get hard on budgets.
Well, that's like Lindsay. What are you doing? I said, I'm balancing. She goes, oh. I go, I like balancing. It's like we're in
As long as
search
they
with
come out
numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, we call it. Well, thank you for playing. It's been fun. Oh, yes. I was
Sure
going
there
to
was
send
a
you an
reason.
email tomorrow.